Delight to be here and to join many other Shell colleagues here as well, which has been really fun. And this is such an important topic for our industry. I'm delighted today to be joined by several illustrious guests. So we've got Adriana from Shell, Subrata from McDermott International, Binu Mathew from C3 AI, Alan Bibb, who's joining us from Neptune Energy, and finally Michael Jansen from Cityzenith. So welcome to you all. It's great to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to having a really thought-provoking dialogue around whether or not the digital twin needs to be a platform, which is something that actually I've been trying to figure out myself for some time. I think there are different perspectives on this, and hopefully this is going to be a rich debate. So maybe what I thought we'd start with is maybe if we can just ask the panel to introduce themselves, tell everybody a little bit more about your role, and also a little bit on your perspective on digital twin and where you come from on this topic. So maybe if I can start, Adriana, with you.
Yeah, all right. So, hi everyone, good day. I'm Adriana Garcia, and my official role with Shell, I am a senior business analyst located in Houston, Texas. For the past 5 years, I've been leading in different capacities with several different digital initiatives, mostly in the downstream space. Most notably, I have dedicated my work to the connected worker capability, or enabling new mobile ways of working in the field, and now working for multiple lines of business within Shell, so not only downstream. So while Connected Worker is a platform in itself, there are several applications and other platforms which will work hand in hand with Connected Worker, and Digital Twin is one of them, and I would say it's a significant one. In my collaboration with the business, I do see digital twin to be an important enabler to progress digital transformation. So my contribution today as part of this panel is more of a stakeholder and not an expert in digital twin, but regardless, I'm happy for the opportunity and look forward to contributing to the discussion today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Adriana. And maybe moving now to Subrata, maybe you want to give an introduction to yourself and also how you relate to this important topic.
Hi everyone. So I'm working in McDermott London office as a principal engineer for Subsea digitalization. Uh, I'm also working in this field for digital twin and Subsea digitalization for last 4 or 5 years, and we have been involved in several digital twins for the upstream operation, also for the Subsea, especially. We also involve some of the digital tool platform from third parties, and we have implemented several aspects of the digital twin in their platform. So I will discuss mainly that type of how we have integrated with different third party application with digital twins, and how it works with the different phases from design to the operation. Thanks.
Super. Thanks, Subrata. So moving over to Michael. So Michael, I came across Cityzenith actually yesterday for the first time when I was doing my research, but sounds fascinating. So maybe give me a little bit more background on you and the company.
Sure, thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
So I appreciate it. This is Michael Jansen. It's a pleasure to be here today. I am the chairman and CEO of the Cityzenith, and it's also a pleasure to be a gold sponsor of this wonderful event. Cityzenith is a digital twin maker. It's pretty much all we do, with a special focus on what we call urban digital twins. Our approach is truly platform-based, and it has been since day one. We had a vibrant conversation with some of the digital twin think tank people at Gartner yesterday about the kind of 3 categories of digital twin company out there, and we're very much in the platform camp, which we'll be talking about more today. It's easiest to think of us as like SimCity, but for real cities with real data. We come from the creators of Google Earth and the creators of Revit technologies, kind of come together to build something that we can now deploy on large-scale building and infrastructure projects worldwide, including airports, ports, smart cities, smart grid infrastructure, all of that. So now we're beginning to explore a pilot project even to deploy in a nuclear facility in the United States. And it's just been an exciting past couple of years with, I think, many more exciting years in front of us. I'm looking forward to this discussion and to hearing everyone's views.
Thanks, Michael. Super interesting. Fantastic. And now moving to Binu, and I know you come from a totally different perspective. Binu and I have been co-conspirators in the AI space and now moving into digital twins. So Binu, over to you.
Thanks, Dan. It's great to be here. I'm Binu Mathew. I'm the CTO for Energy Solutions at C3 AI. C3 AI is an enterprise AI, we believe the leading enterprise AI application company. Our mission is to solve the previously unsolvable by unifying data, building AI models, and deploying critical AI applications. Together with Baker Hughes, in 2019, we formed a joint venture for the energy space that's called Baker Hughes C3 AI. And together with Shell, and that's what Dan was referring to as our little conspiracy there, with Shell, Baker Hughes, C3, and Microsoft, we launched earlier this year the Open AI Energy Initiative. It's an open ecosystem of AI-based solutions for the energy and the process industries. Again, our mission is to bring these types of applications, digital transformation writ large, to the energy space. And in that context, digital twins are a critical aspect of bringing any of these kinds of solutions to the industry. How do you map various assets? How do you get the associated data? How do you map assets together? How do you run simulators? And so doing this at scale is the mission we have. And so digital twins are particularly important to us.
Thanks, Binu. Super. And finally, Alan, to you. Great to have you.
Thanks, Dan. So my name is Alan Bibb. I'm the lead digital assets person at Neptune Energy. So Neptune's an independent E&P company. We have a global portfolio, pretty much gas weighted, and we have a strong digital agenda driven down from the top, where the outcomes are business value focused. I've been at Neptune and its previous incarnations for over 10 years now, sometimes embedded in the business, but my role now is in IT. It's a global role, but we have a very diverse and asset-centric organisation, I would say. So how to balance the global strategy and the global toolkit with those local needs and local factors is a strong part of the programme directive. And like you, Dan, I've been working the question of to platform or not to platform as part of that context. So right now we don't have a single platform, primarily due to the legacy of our disparate affiliates, I would say, which are now merged into a much more harmonious company within Neptune. But we're still balancing that question of how to bring it all together under one toolkit and one set of best practice. And that's maybe some of the points we can pick up later in this session. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Alan. And really interesting your perspective. I think I certainly recognize the challenges of disparate business needs and hence the challenges of trying to bring those together into common platforms. So it'd be really fascinating to hear more of your perspective on that as we go through this. I wanted to start off, Michael, perhaps with you, recognizing that you're probably the most firmly in the positive camp here, which is that I would imagine that you believe we need a platform. Can you explain why you think a digital twin platform is so important as a means of digital transformation?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of pieces, to this. One is, developing a platform strategy and also kind of what the impact of the platform can have. A couple of things. The past 10 years, we've been developing Smart World, and we kind of discerned two distinct trends, one of which was kind of working with the founders of Google Earth and Revit to develop a game engine-driven platform, a kind of SimCity-like, but like experience, but supercharged with engineering intelligence and data science and whatnot. And we kind of originally envisioned this would be more of a cloud-based thing, and it might be more professional services, and we began taking it to customers, and it was really customers who kind of pushed us in that direction. We found that the more sophisticated customers wanted to be able to create their own digital twins, to manage their own data, to annotate their own models, to be able to integrate any of a variety of third-party tools, not just those that belong to one company. So seeing this need for kind of almost a glue that would sit in between all these tools, it necessitated us thinking about a platform approach. Beyond that, the platform approach is fundamentally, more scalable, both in terms of horizontally and vertically, how much data we can accommodate, how many tools we can accommodate. And again, it depends on the customer base, but our customer base, which will have hundreds, thousands, and sometimes millions of assets, appreciates that. I do accept that there are solutions out there which we call a kind of standalone, and they may be perfectly fine for a single facility. They may be perfectly fine for example, whether it's an airplane hangar or a manufacturing facility, and those work too. Our customers, however, demand something that is more flexible and can scale.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. And I think, you outlined some of the really key points there around a common platform. I guess maybe, Alan, in our pre-exchanges before this, you talked about some of the challenges of the platform approach, and maybe just to get that in the room early, would love to hear a bit more from you about some of the issues you see with moving to a common platform from your perspective.
Yeah, and I can relate it back to what Michael just said about the glue, because I think the glue is really important. So I think, irrespective of whether you go for a single platform or not, I think this concept of almost a digital twin middleware is really important, and something that can kind of host the data platform and host the model. So that element to bring together all your tag-based elements into a homogeneous centerpiece, I guess, is definitely a platform approach. I think would work with that. But when we think about the use cases and the component parts then of the twin, whether it's analytics or visualization or the 3D environment itself, I'm less convinced that a single platform is the right answer there, because you need to drive value from this. You need to look at your business cases. Now, we've got a diverse portfolio, as I think pretty much everyone will have in the operator space. We've got some very legacy brownfield in the Netherlands and Germany. And really there we need to do very quick tactical solutions for them. Meanwhile, we have some big relatively greenfield flagship assets in the UK and Norway, very data rich, long life assets, and that's a different investment opportunity there. So it's balancing that need, I think, but at the same time we want to generate best practice, especially when it comes down to analytics and reusing those analytics. So it probably haven't directly answered the question there, but it's just interesting to balance those challenges, I think.
I think it's a really helpful perspective, Alan, and thank you for sharing that. I think, maybe just to put something in the room from our perspective at Shell, I mean, one of the things that we're thinking about is three components of a digital twin, data, the models, and then the visualizations. And I think those different aspects, have to come together. But as you rightly point out, sometimes that's not necessarily a common platform, but making those things interoperable. And, linking to Binu here, maybe Binu, I know at C3 you've been thinking a lot about interoperability in this space, and maybe you want to share a little bit about the way in which you're thinking about that and how you're approaching it.
Absolutely, Dan. And I think it's a matter of scale. And I think the three elements that you mentioned, right? Data, models, and visualization. One of the things that we've seen historically is that there's been a lot of great work done by individuals within an organization, and as organizations scale up, where you can get some extremely good digital twins, but they tend to be one-offs. And I think this is the importance of two things. One is platforms, plural, because I don't think there's one platform that does every single one of these things. And I think it goes back into some of the interoperability things that have been mentioned. So if you really want to be able to do this at scale, changing things in the energy space, you need interoperability. That's one of the reasons why we launched that OpenAI initiative that I referred to earlier this month. In fact, one of the things related to that I'm actually very pleased to talk about today is, in collaboration with Shell and Kongsberg, we've started a technical collaboration on combining Kongsberg's digital twins capabilities and simulation capabilities. So that helps you provide some of the visualization type aspects with the ability to pull in data, unify data, and model it in the C3 space. And I think this ties back into this principle that we have of the OAI being an open ecosystem of solutions that can provide these kinds of capabilities. So I think this is a great example of how we can bring together different solutions, unified data from different sources, scale it up, use the best capabilities from different players such as Kongsberg to really be able to provide the sort of solutions that the industry needs at scale.
Fantastic, thank you, Binu. And speaking personally, I saw this yesterday actually for the first time. I know it was being prepped in preparation for this conference, and I think it's a great example of what Alan was talking about in terms of that interoperability. I think is going to be key in the digital twin space. Subrata, you kind of made the same point that you're bringing together many capabilities within your organization. Can you build a little bit on that and maybe tell us about how you're approaching this?
Thanks, Dan. In McDermott, actually, we are using digital twin mainly for the design aspect. Like example, for our definition, digital twin has a two part. One is the design twin, another will be the operational twin. In design twin, what we are doing, we are building the whole subsea systems in the subsea in our subsea digital twin. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to manage the whole digital twin life cycle. That means how we will do the design, build, testing, deployment, everything in a one platform. Another important thing for our digital twin is the single source of truth. That means all the informations related to any asset in the subsea field will be stored in the same digital twin. That means if you wanted to do any type of simulation or engineering, there you will be like engineering in design process will be stored there. So if you wanted that information in your operational state, you can have the access and you can visualize all this information in a single twin. And the third important thing is that we believe in open API. So open API means you can integrate with any third party software or any other type of like IoT systems or something. You can integrate that and you can use that. So these are the main thing we are expecting, it should be there in any of the digital twin.
No, it's fascinating and really interesting how that builds on some of the comments that Binu and Alan have made. But maybe just to deepen that a little bit, Subrata, are you leveraging your own technology, or are you integrating with third-party platforms, or are you actually stitching together multiple APIs to provide a new solution?
We are actually using one of the digital twin platform. It's called Subsea Digital Twin from Futuron. It's called, so they called as a field twin. We have integrated our part in that platform, and we called this a Subsea Digital Twin. But it is basically built on the Futuron's platform. And we are
Thank you.
also have others for the project management purpose. That is, we build on the dashboard system. So yeah, these are the we normally using now.
Fantastic. Well, what a fantastic array of different perspectives we've had so far, from the challenges of an operator through to a full-blown Google Earth equivalent digital twin AI platform capability. And I think, Adriana, coming to you, I would love to hear a bit more. I think there's two areas I wanted to drill into with you. One is, I think, the connection with Connective Worker, because I think that's going to be a really important aspect of this, because at the end of the day, this is all about the user. So maybe you want to bring that perspective to the conversation and talk about what you're focused on at the moment.
Yep. So I think what's been interesting is as we progressed with development of connected worker is just the integration of other platforms or just portfolios of applications. I would say that for any digital platform, we have to make sure that they complement each other. So whether we're talking about one digital platform or multiple digital platforms, um, it is connected worker is, I would say, the foundation of being able to enable a digital twin. And the digital twin experience enables the connected worker to realize business benefits and generating new value from just changing the way that they work. So I believe, and we've been able to see with some recent pilots, just how important and how critical that integration is from digital twin to connected worker, and and as I mean by foundation, I mean the infrastructure. So ensuring that the connection is able to that the digital twin solution can operate on these mobile iPads that are being taken throughout the field, and 200-acre refinery. And on the flip side of that is what we've also seen and heard is there's a lot of energy from the business on this enablement. The most recent pilot went quite well, and there was quite a number of use cases and new benefits that were realized. And what I heard secondhand information is, within a time of a 60-minute call, it was just one value after another that was coming from the group, and they ran out of time. So I think when it comes to any digital platform and the focus of a digital transformation, it's important that we also consider sort of beyond third-party applications, and I'm hearing about learning about new terms of digital twin. But definitely it is critical to understand what that foundation and what the dependency is on other platforms.
Fantastic. Thank you, Adriana. And I guess maybe just to build on that, and Alan, coming back to you, I mean, you talked about very much thinking about a diverse set of use cases and the fact that there are different sources of value for different parts of the organization, and hence the question arises of whether you need a true platform or simply a middleware capability. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're going after the value at Neptune and how you're thinking about dealing with that diverse set of use cases, and also perhaps a little bit share some examples of the use cases that you're focused on?
Yeah, sure. Our portfolio in Europe particularly is quite interesting and maybe a little bit unique in that we've got in the UK and Norway pretty much a large single asset in each of those countries, very digitally mature, very data rich, and they've kind of run their own destiny in terms of digitalization. But very recently, we've kind of focused a lot of our digital efforts at a global level towards the Netherlands, and that's for various reasons. We've got some late life opportunities there, but the new energy context there, carbon capture and storage, hydrogen, tapping into wind farms, that has completely regenerated and reinvigorated that part of the portfolio. Whereas a few years ago, it was on its last legs. There wasn't a huge investment case for it. That's totally changed around now. So what we're finding is that we're focusing a lot more attention towards the Netherlands, and quickly to react to those new challenges and those new opportunities. And I think I can see a situation where Netherlands will quickly catch up to where we are in the other parts of the portfolio, the newer assets, and probably overtake it. And actually, that part of the portfolio has got the biggest sort of bang for buck, the biggest gain in terms of the value proposition, because the other assets I talked about are actually very reliable. They've got very good high availabilities, and the gains there are perhaps more marginal, especially in single asset teams. So that's a good example where we swung it around. The other context with the brownfield situation is a pretty poor situation of as-built information. So we're using the digital twins to really drive improving the quality of our as-built position and getting scans of those assets done quickly, retrospective 3D models, and then ingesting all the 2D information, P&IDs, hotspotting P&IDs. So even that basic use case of connecting your 2D to your 3D environment for all the engineering that's associated with new energy and late life, that is a huge opportunity for us and is really meaningful to the business in the short term.
I think that's a fantastic perspective. And as you said, many of those sort of basic foundations really move the needle and can actually have material bottom line impact for the business. And thank you for sharing that, Alan. Maybe, Michael, to you, I think what would be interesting for me is to understand a bit where you see the benefits with your customers of an integrated platform. Alan perhaps gave a perspective on saying, you can focus on some basics, really narrow down on the core use cases for the business, be clear on the business outcomes you're trying to drive, and perhaps that actually moves you forward more quickly. I suspect you would disagree and see that actually having the integrated digital twin would be of more benefit. So maybe your perspective on
that. Yeah. So I think there's kind of, three real broad categories of digital twins out there. There's the kind of bespoke, we consider to be proprietary type of digital twin approach, which may be a proprietary platform that has working for a single company with proprietary equipment, proprietary data serving a certain customer base. And there are many examples of companies that do that. And in fact, that is today, if you look at the $3 billion that the market represented last year, that's actually most of that revenue today. So to tell you where the market's at, there are two other types of companies. One which goes to the kind of other end and provides digital twin as a kind of service, a professional service, a kind of systems integration plus type service a service that will integrate a bunch of pieces, maybe wrap it around some technology or not, but then serve it back to you as a kind of standalone product with a bow on it. And if you need changes, you have to keep relying upon this service. The third type of company is really the platform company. I think I heard somebody mention earlier with digital twins, the challenge of quantifying value proposition with digital twins generally is that digital twins derive a bunch of different kinds of value, and they deliver different types of value at different stages of the life cycle of an asset. So actually there's an entire matrix of value that a digital twin once executed can provide to stakeholders. So small examples in our case were project we did in I think it was in India. We were deployed by architects of a new capitalist city in South Asia. Our tool was used to simulate the impact of various building massing schemes on the average street temperature in the peak of summer. And the architects were able to use our tool integrated with an AI-driven microclimate simulation tool that was from a Dutch company to prove that they could use mass, shade, and landscaping to lower average street temperatures by as much as 8 degrees in the middle of summer. So, and there was many other value props in terms of not only cost savings, but carbon savings, that spin off things like that. Different project we did was the East-West Rail project from Oxford to Cambridge, a massive rail project where the principal use case there was aggregating tons of data for the engineers. And we were able to save them 20% of their design budget time, a different type of value of those similar implementations. So that's my perspective.
Fantastic. That's some really tangible examples. And what I like about that, Michael, is kind of the fact that the richness of the twin in conjunction with AI is really driving some next generation insights, which would have been very hard to achieve otherwise. And I guess, Binu, I know you've been seeing this with a number of other clients as sort of that richer data set is starting to accelerate AI in general. Maybe you want to build on that a bit and talk about some of the benefits that you're seeing from AI and the impact that's having with your customers.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I think the big thing for AI and digital twins is, really what do you do with it? And I think, some of the examples that Michael mentioned are key to this. For us, it's been about unlocking, the capabilities that you have with, different levels of data in the system. So, for example, how do you improve reliability of overall operational assets, right? How do you bring in, if you look at all the components that are really working in a plant or a facility, then what you really want to be able to get out of a digital twin or digital twins at scale is mapping out the data that's flowing in, using the information that we have out there to predict things like failures. Right? If you can head off, unplanned downtime, if you can predict that the amount of maintenance that you need for specific solutions is less or more than you might otherwise have planned, you can really, both reduce, you can improve safety, you can improve reliability, you can reduce the amount of effort that goes into maintenance. And especially these days, as we're talking about energy transition, this is absolutely critical, both from an economic benefit perspective, but also, environmentally as well. And then you can keep expanding that. The beauty of this system is that it doesn't tie into just one use case, right? With Shell, for example, Dan, you and I have been working on maintenance, but now, with the sort of collaboration that we're talking about with, Kongsberg and other parties, you can start seeing how this would extend into the entire life cycle of an asset, right? How do you start from, the design, the launch of a greenfield operation, tracking the life cycle of that, reliability, as I mentioned, but then extending into things like, asset integrity, safety, inspection, process optimization. And again, I think it's the unlocking of these kinds of use cases, these kinds of value propositions that really will move the needle. Because in the end, the digital twin is an enabler. How do we unlock that value as quickly as possible? That's really what we should all be laser focused on.
No, fantastic. And I think those are great examples, Binu. And as you say, we've seen phenomenal success in the predictive maintenance space, delivering now, thousands of models for pieces of equipment globally and really exciting area. And I think we're only just scratching the surface. But Adriana, you've talked already about the importance of value and the end user and thinking about that perspective in this. Where do you see, from your perspective, the big value coming? You talked about calls with multiple users who are seeing all sorts of different value that we hadn't expected. Can you expand on that a little bit and talk about where you see the big impact?
So I think maybe to kind of piggyback off of what Binu's point of new way of planning. I think the way I see this is the business knows their business, and they know how to plan. And the enabler of digital twin is introducing a whole new way of how to do their daily work. So there's been different mentions, but what's been confirmed is from having the GPS coordinates that removed wasted time of looking for a specific piece of equipment, that obviously increasing the hands-on tool time and being able to get to something faster. Another, I think what was really neat is just to hear how the entire crew of a turnaround was aware of what was happening real time. And they had the tools in their hands of either having the right reports, even having a view of which permits that were ready and what work was ready to go. The benefit was both, in the end, is realized both at the bottom line as well as sort of your softer benefits and being able to make faster decisions, better user experience. So, based off of this pilot and the visualization that they put in place, it's not even the full scale of what their digital twin could be. So it's definitely just scratching the surface. We started this off with cost savings, efficiencies. We need to find this. But in the end, this is really, I think this will really change the landscape on how just day-to-day activity happens in the field.
Fantastic. Thanks, Adriana. Some fantastic examples there. Before I go to Subrata, I think just a quick shout out really to say the questions are open. We'd love to have any questions from the audience. Do feel free to type your questions into the Q&A chat box, and we'll try and take a few in the few minutes that we have left. But while we're waiting for some questions to come in, Subrata, just quickly to you. I mean, I think there's something unique about the way that you're approaching this. Firstly, looking more in the subsea space. I think the second thing is also, I think what was fascinating to me is the fact that you're sort of merging capabilities, your own and third parties, to create a differentiated insight, which I think builds on many of the themes that have come out today. Can you talk specifically about where you've seen the value coming from in the applications that you've had of your platform to date?
Okay, thanks, Dan. Just for example, I'm telling, I told you that our digital twin has a two part. The first is a design twin, second is the operational twin. Think about a design twin. Overall, McDermott is EPCI company. Our main business, engineering, procurement and installation, that thing. Here, what is the main benefit from the digital twin? What we can develop a digital twin for the whole design process. We can choose the best concept from that digital twin based on our some the data set from the previous projects or some as-built data and some. So that type of thing is also the one of the benefit from our digital twin is you can share the whole data with your like with the operator, example, Shell, BP, or anyone. So it's a fully, I can tell you, is a fully open. So that means the operator and the contractor they can work together, and has a also advantage to implement majority of the engineering process inside that design twin. Once your design twin is done, you can hand over to the operator that same digital twin, and then you can build that operational twin for the operator. Operator just have to link the IoT systems with that operation twin, and they can use that. You can use predictive maintenance. You can use what I'm telling. This also have also benefit in future, even in your energy transition business. What you told, like example, if you wanted to use some of the existing infrastructure for some green hydrogen or blue hydrogen business, that means for that type of existing infrastructure, your continuous or real-time monitoring will be a very important aspect. That type of thing you can easily do through this type of digital twin. Same thing I can tell you, for life extension process in any subsea field or in other area also, you can also use this digital twin. And because we all have all the asset information, because we design that, and also that means we have all the design data. And once you are taking the live data from the field, you can also compare that data from the actual measurement data and your design data. Sometime I can tell you it has a huge impact, because when you design a system, what you are telling now, that the fate of a system, it depends of how you are designed. Like that means your design system may tell that you have only 40 years life, but if you use a real-time data, you can see your life may be more than 40, because in design data is always a conservative. So that type of system can take both this real-time data and your design data. So that is one of the big advantage.
Thanks, Subrata. Super helpful and very insightful, and really interesting to see that diverse perspective. In this conversation, looking at that split between design time and operational digital twins. I guess one follow-up question to you. Obviously, many of the design twins are one-off. How are you? And also, I guess the other point is that and this is from the audience, a lot of these things are modular. They're not the complete thing. How are you thinking about interoperability between the different aspects of your design twin?
Yeah, this design twin, I told you that we have built this design twin based on Futuron's Fill Twin platform. Futuron has provided several assets information there, and also user, or that means user means I'm telling we McDermott or who is using that digital twin, they can provide all the asset information as a metadata to the system, and based on that metadata you can design any of the subsea asset. You can do engineering. I'm telling you can do events like a flow assurance engineering. You can do pipeline analysis. You can do installation analysis. So all of the engineering what normally the EPC contractors are doing, you can do on the same platform. And we have seen that this is because this all the information is shared with the users and the clients, and and the overall all and if you look into the total cost saving, I can tell you in this way you can save at least 40 to 60% of your design cost, so which is a very good prospect for reducing the cost for any new EPCI projects.
Thanks, Subrata. Great example. Maybe another question coming in from the audience. And Binu, I'm going to come to you with this one. How can open digital twin platforms enable cross-industry insights, for example, in the safety and environment space, to try and help that lessons get learned across organizational silos? I think a fantastic one for you to think about as you think about the open strategy.
Yeah, I'm going to build a little bit on what Subrata said there. We see different types of digital twins, in play, right? You've got you got design twins that are built by, design stages. You've got operational digital twins. You've got digital twins that exist from, different vendors for different purposes. But going back to one of the previous points I meant, unlocking this really means getting this to work at scale and making sure it's the data is all up to date, right? That's when you really start unlocking the value. To do that, you need, I think, two critical aspects of that. One is I think we need a base set of models for different classes of twins, right? And that because that gives you an underlying data model or an object model, if you will, of different types of digital twins. And then open standards, open APIs for each of these classes. So, for instance, you might have one for a subsea design twin. You might have another one for a design twin from an OEM of a centrifugal compressor, right? So each of these classes, we need to have, I think, well-defined attributes of these things, open API standards that allow for bidirectional exchange, and then the ability to really map and aggregate all of this together. You also need to have the infrastructure that will help aggregate, and cloud solutions are enormously valuable in being able to aggregate the level of data that we're talking about. So I think all of these coming together, having open standards, and one of the things that we've been looking at as part of our OAI consortium. So the OAI is meant to be an open commercial consortium, but from a standards body, that real openness is key. And so working with standards bodies like the OSDU, that's, I think, a critical part of, I think, this evolution. So interoperability and openness, I think, are absolutely key here.
Thanks, Binu. Fantastic. And great to see that emerging through the OAI and indeed through your collaboration with Kongsberg, which I think is just a fantastic example of what you're talking about. I guess, Michael, coming to you, I know you're looking really at the future of this world and where it's going. How close are we to achieving digital twins actually operating either cities or facilities remotely and autonomously? And we all talk about that being where things are going. Do you see that with your customers, that's happening?
Yes, there's kind of a natural progression that you work through in working with customers. Usually beginning with visualization and presentation, and then getting into some type of data management, and then getting into some type of analysis, whether it's rearward looking or forward looking or predictive. And eventually, then of course it all gets dashboarded, and that's when it all gets kind of throughout the organization. And eventually, it comes down to that. So I think the bidirectional control. We have some clients that are going that way. We have clients that basically each of those 5 steps, or stages, if you will. The ones that are heading in that direction include the energy services providers and, unsurprisingly, the U.S. military, with whom we have a very strong long-term collaboration, and we're developing some unique digital twin work with them. I think that these are the types of customers that are looking to be able to do that. And so, yes, I think it will go there. What we're finding also, though, is that as it moves closer there, customers are getting further and further away from the cloud. Almost all of our deployments, we were 90% cloud-based 3 years ago. We're 90% on-premise today. Important products that are being developed by cloud providers that allow you to kind of install effectively a mini cloud on-premise, which is cut off from everything else, is become almost commonplace in all of our contracts.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. And we're getting towards the end here. I guess I'm just going to try and wrap up, and just firstly by saying a huge thank you to all of my panelists. I think this has been a fantastic and very, very rich debate. I guess maybe in terms of the things that I'm taking from this, I think what we've seen is a diversity of approaches happening with digital twin platforms, from platforms that can pull together the data, the modeling, and the visualizations that Michael referred to, and things heading in that direction, but perhaps also some real challenges that Alan talked about, and also that Adriana touched on, in terms of making something like that really real, and dealing with the diversity of systems that we have in the realities of an operator's existence, and trying to make that relevant to the end users and focus on the things that really matter to drive the business value, which is ultimately what this is all about. I think Adriana also touched on the fact that there are multiple platforms that are going to emerge in this space, some of which are things like connected worker capabilities, which are going to form a critical part of the digital twin ecosystem, as well as what Binu was talking about, with AI platforms increasingly offering augmented modeling capabilities building on top of digital twins. And I was also fascinated by what Subrata shared, talking about the fact that at the end of the day, we're going to have base digital twin platforms which are going to be augmented and then provided as services at different parts of the life cycle, both in the design time and also in the operations. I think what we can all agree on, though, is that digital twin is going to be an important foundation, whether it's simply a middleware, as Alan talked about, in terms of Neptune's approach, versus a full-blown end-to-end digital twin that Michael referred to. But we see, I think, collectively that this is going to be an important foundation for enterprise digital transformations. And at the end of the day, this is going to emerge very, very quickly as the richness of data sources that many of us referred to increases. So a huge thank you to all of you for joining me, for participating in a rich and diverse conversation. I hope the audience enjoyed it, and I wish you all a very good day.